Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and today we're joined by our very special guest, Joe Mena from Survivor Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers, who is a little under the weather. He's got something going on over there. We're not sure what he's making, but he's got something going on, some concoction to feel better. What's going on over there, Joe?
What's going on, man? Just dealing with the Patrick flu. Patrick gave us all the flu. I don't want to blame it on him, but I think it was definitely Patrick had the flu in L.A., and I think like 11 contestants out of the 18 have it. At least I know 8 for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
I like how Patrick is blamed. You know, blame the redhead. That's what we do.
That's what Lauren said, so I'm gonna just gotta ride that boat and just blame it on him.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I didn't get to meet Joe at the after party. Somehow I missed him. I don't know how.
Yeah, I was in and out.
Yeah, they closed the bar at 12. They told everybody. I thought they said 2, but hey, you know, they closed it at 12.
What are they closing bars at 12 out in LA? What are they doing out there?
I don't know. I think that's like common practice out there. I think like 12 o'clock things shut down. I was like amazed. I was like, what? It's only midnight, but
normally it's 2 a.m., but I guess that.
Oh, it is?
It is normally 2 a.m. because I live out there now, so I don't know what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that, but you know. Crazy stuff. Yeah. We're excited, Joe. Thanks for coming on. This should be pretty fun. We can get some real stories here. You know, we can really hear what's going on out there because, you know, even when I was talking to some of the survivors out there, I was getting nice stories about all the contestants and everything. And you said they were probably telling you like the kiddie version of all of them or whatever. So here we go.
I don't know. I mean, I still find out stories till this day. Like I tell everyone, like Survivor, the game's over, but for some reason, I feel like everyone's still playing the game. Like I'm like, guys, you know, Ben won. Let's just, you know, we could be honest with each other. But no, they're still playing the game. I don't know what's going on. They're still building alliances. I don't know if they're trying to get back on the show or whatnot. But I'm a straight shooter, so I'll give you the real story.
Well, that's perfect. I guess let's start them with you finding stuff out. Let's start with this Ben thing, which was probably one of the biggest moments of this entire season. It's why you eventually went home. Your whole relationship with Ben was all over the place. How much did you really had no idea, huh? The entire time.
As far as what? Him being a double agent?
Yeah, as far as him being a secret agent.
Well, as far as him being a double agent, I mean, I think that was, you know, some people praise Devin for that move. I don't see how you could praise someone for giving another player in a game of Survivor more power. You know, I mean, you voluntarily giving someone more power and putting them in a situation that they have control of basically both tribes because they have, you know, information from both tribes. I mean, from both alliances. So there was nothing in my mind, you know, that I think at any point that Ben was playing a double agent because I didn't think that anyone would put him in that situation and give him that power. So he definitely played me like a fiddle. I had no idea. I didn't think there was anyone dumb enough to give Ben that power. You know, he was definitely a strong player out there. So when I watched it, I mean, I figured this out before. You know, at Ponderosa, I figured out, oh, he was playing double sides. And I was like, but who came up with this great idea? And I found out it was Devin. I was like, of course, it had to be Devin out of all people to give Ben that power. So I can't give Devin praise. I think that was a dumb move. And obviously it was because Devin didn't win and Ben did. So, yeah, Ben did a great job playing both sides. And kudos to him. But I don't think it was a good play by Devin, at least.
See, go ahead, Alex.
You go ahead, Phil.
Well, I was going to say we praised it. We were saying that Devin's move.
Yeah, we were big on it. We were big on it.
How? Like, you never do that. You don't allow someone that's part of your alliance to go off to another alliance and get information. You don't do that. Like, you're putting all your trust into one person. You don't do that in Survivor. You don't put your trust into anybody. And for them to do that, knowing that he already flip-flopped before. I mean, he flip-flopped on the Yawa. You know, Yawa had a final 5 and he flipped. So, you know, history is going to repeat itself. So he already set the precedent that he's willing to flip-flop, but you're still going to put him in that position to flip-flop, you know? So I don't know where the praise came from. I think that was the dumbest thing. Like, legit was the dumbest thing. And as you can see, it didn't benefit nobody. The only person it did benefit was Ben because at Final Tribal. He never spoke about it, but I kind of figured it out, at Ponderosa, that he did play both sides. And that's another reason why I voted for Ben, because they gave him, he built a strong enough relationship with Devin that Devin felt comfortable enough to put Ben in that situation, So I don't think it was a good move, and trust me, I listened to you guys.
Phil, this is why we're sitting here.
Yeah, no. I mean, I listened to you guys, and I know you definitely did praise that move, and I think many people did. Some even went as far as saying that this is the first time it's ever happened in Survivor, but no, I mean, it's a game of Survivor. I think this has happened many times before, but this season, I mean, it wasn't too much going on, so any move was going to be praised upon. But yeah, it just wasn't a good move. I don't see how that was a good move. I don't see it.
So you're saying there wasn't a lot going on. What do you mean by that?
Well, it just wasn't a lot going on. I mean, if you think about it, post-merge, which was really the healer purge, that's basically what it was. It was what in Survivor terms is called a pagonging.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's boring. I mean, as a viewer, it's boring. As a player, it's extremely boring. Especially if you're a healer, it's devastating, right? So kudos to them for doing it. I'm sure if I was in a majority, I wouldn't feel the way that I feel, right? But it was boring because I came into the game thinking, we just had some great seasons like Gen X, and we had the season 31 and 32. I mean, those were great seasons that it was people. There were alliances, but it was more like voting blocks, and things were just constantly moving. And this season was very, by the book. Like, let's just go after healers one by one by one. So it was extremely slow for me. As you can see, like I'm an aggressive player. So just being in that, I was expecting one thing and I got something else, and that was the difficult part. So there wasn't really much gameplay until the final 8, right? Once I was voted out, at that point, it was like, okay, there's an alliance, but, there's some moving parts as well. So the voting blocks really came into play once I was voted out. But prior to that, it was kind of just black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which kind of sucks because you'd been wanting to play since day one. Like I remember on the Healer Beach, like we saw you were just trying to game and trying to play, and everyone was just hanging out. So as soon as you go and the game kicks up, that's pretty. Must have been like a little tough to watch on the jury bench.
Well, yeah, from the jury bench, I didn't want to be there, but as a fan, you're just excited to be there, But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I went cray-cray at the swap was, everything was bottled in, like I wanted to play, and there was no reason for me to just cause chaos at the healer camp because we were winning, So why am I going to cause chaos and stir the pot when we're winning? Like, that would be stupid of me to do so. So all my confessionals, I was like, I just want to go crazy. I want to do this and I want to do that. But I'm like, if I do it, I'm screwing myself. So once the swap happened, that's when I just let loose. And that's when the chaos and, me and Alan went at it. And, I did the whole thing with the idol. Looking back at it, would I change it? No. But I should have definitely played my position a little bit better. But everything was bottled in. I just wanted to play. And that was like my first opportunity. That's why.
Well, whatever happened, you're saying that you didn't want the chaos to happen, and we'll talk about that swap because we all want to know about this Allen thing. But you were saying that you had this all bottled in.
Yeah.
But it looked like you were already throwing. Was this completely just over edited, or were you really throwing Mike under the bus like as soon as you possibly could?
I mean, if you want to call that playing, that's just. Let me tell you something about Mike. So we get to so the game starts. We're on the boat, right? And obviously, we know there's a secret advantage on there. Like, everyone knows that, right? We all know that, but the 15 idiots decided to jump off the ship. There's only 3 fools on the ship. Me, Mike, and Ryan, you know what I mean? So I was able to identify them 2 as players, I stood behind just to see who was going to look for the advantage. So I looked for the advantage, Mike looked for the advantage, and Ryan did. So already, off rips, I knew Mike was playing the game. So once we got to Healer Beach, I'm like, all right, this guy was looking for an advantage on the boat. Now he's running around the island like a madman looking for the idol. I was like, no. That's my lane. That's what I want to do. And that's why I put a target on his back. So the goal was, let me put a target on his back. So now he's feeling the heat. Now he's not going to be inclined to go off and try to find the idol. And that's going to give me an opportunity to search the island. So that's why I went after Mike. It wasn't personal. It was just, strictly gameplay at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So when you guys are hanging out on the boat, because we don't really get to see this on TV. So you said you were sitting on the boat watching those two. Were they like kind of obviously like flipping over bananas looking for something, or were they still throwing stuff over the edge?
Just no, I mean, you got to play the part. We're all we're throwing stuff over, but like I think at one point me and Ryan actually picked up the same bag of bananas. There was a bag of plantains. And we both pick it up and we put it back down. Like, why are we picking things up and putting it back down? Like, you know what I mean? So he was looking, I was looking. It's part of the game, So, the rest of the guys, they just jump. They just jump ship. And, so, I was able to kind of pick up on who was at least looking for what,
Yeah, and then this healer tribe assembles, and I think what kind of hurt this season a little bit was that it was the healer purge, when at the beginning of the season – the healers are who we got to know the best, with the whole with the whole Cole and Jessica, and then you had Mike and Rourke. We didn't really get to know too well, but then you also had you. So there's a lot going on over at the healer camp, but then you guys never go to tribal, and then you guys get beaten off one by one. What happened there at Healer Beach? And if you were to go to tribal, who do you actually think would have gone? And what was like the dynamic like even there?
All right, so depending who you speak to, you're gonna get a different answer, right? So no one really knows. Like, literally, we can have this conversation 5 different times. There's gonna be 5 different answers to this. Okay, 5 different vote outs. So from my view, I was really close to Jessica. Like, Jessica was my day one. So the second we hit Healer Beach, Jessica and I just like developed this bond. We're like, yo, we're just gonna, you're my girl, and she's like, you're my man, and that's it. So we were really close. Desi and I really didn't have a close relationship. Desi, you couldn't really read Desi, She was friendly. Obviously, she was built like a tank. But as far as like gameplay, she didn't really strategize much, right? Cole and I were cool, but Cole was all over the place. Like, he'll come to you like one day and say, hey guys, like, me, Joe, you, Mike, and I, we need to stick close because the girls are getting close, and I think there's a girl alliance. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then he'll come the next day and like, hey, guy, Joe, I think since we're the stronger guys, I think they're coming after us. So he was all over the place. I knew that off rips. Like, all right, this guy is all over the place. Rourke and Mike I was concerned about. Rourke obviously is a super fan, but she didn't really disclose much of that on the island, but you could just tell, like, all right, you're here for a reason. You're a super fan. So I was really concerned about her. I mentioned like the lovebirds once I discussed, once I found the idol. The lovebirds were Jessica and Cole, but I wasn't concerned about that duo. I was more concerned about Cole and Rourke. So Rourke and Cole had a pretty close relationship, and I was more concerned about them two than any other combo. So if we did go to tribal, I think Mike, Cole, and Rourke, I mean, this is what Mike was telling me at the time. I think they were willing. Playing with Mike is literally playing like, having a grenade in hand. So Mike, I think Mike wanted Jessica out, right? So I was like, yeah, Mike, I'll vote Jessica. He's like, yeah, Cole and Rourke, they want Jessica out because they wanted to split the Jessica and Cole situation. But there was no way I was going to let Jessica go home. So I think we would have, I would have been more comfortable just voting Rourke or Cole. And I guess the girls eventually said that they were willing to vote out Cole. So it probably would have been a Cole situation, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And you know what, though? I kind of can see that because it seemed like Cole was having a hard time. He had such a big mouth out there. He was just telling everybody everything. And it seemed like him and Jessica being super tight. It did seem like Jessica was way more likable. And that's why when Jessica's the one who's not on the jury and Cole was on the jury, I mean, that like floored me. That Jessica boot, when that happened, I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, we just lost like one of the fan, like I thought the fan favorites. I thought she was going to go on to go win the thing. I've been saying she's going to win the thing since day one, and then she goes then.
Yeah, I mean, that was devastating for me because she was literally like my number one. So at that point, once we got to the merge, I mean, it was really, it was Desi, then her. So once Jessica went, that was tough for me. And obviously after Jessica, Desi went. So yeah, Jessica was, they didn't really show much as far as like her strategy, but Jessica was a really good, social player. Her social game was pretty strong. She knew the game, and that's why me and her vibed. I mean, I felt like Jessica was going to be the person that was going to develop relationships for me, and that was going to benefit my game. And then I was willing to do things that, risky things that she's not willing to do. And that's how I was going to benefit her game. So I think us working together was the right decision moving forward. But obviously we didn't really get an opportunity to play together because, they clipped it right at the merge. But I was, once the merge happened, I saw Jessica. I was like, I'm good. Like, I got Jess, I got Des. Like, I was going to ride out with them till the very end. I was like, our games are completely different, and let's see what happens. But, it was a great move from the majority to take Jessica out.
Yeah. Yeah,
and we saw that in Millennials vs. Gen X, too, where I think it was, who had immunity at the first merge bid? Who had that? Like, they went for the second person. Like, you were going to give your idol to, I think it was Cole, and then Jessica was the one that they went for. So it was a good move.
They went for, yeah.
Yeah, it was Michelle and Millennials vs. Gen X that they did it with. But it would have been really cool to see you and Jessica like go through that together, because the way you just described that, like you said, we didn't see a ton of Jessica like strategically. We saw the people really liked her, but I think Phil and I both would have really liked to see like how strategic she was willing to play, because I think we knew that was the case, but we weren't really able to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, she just really never had an opportunity. She was stuck with Mike. Well, actually, she was just stuck with a winning tribe. I mean, she did not go to tribal until the merge. So I mean, if you're winning, you're never gonna get to see anyone's strategic chops at that point. So
and that's something I want to talk about with Mike, because people are giving Mike a pretty hard time, and this is always like the Michelle Fitzgerald argument, where you never go to tribal before you hit the merge, and then you're on the bottom. It's hard to get your footing and really make an argument to win. If Mike were to get to the final three, did he have any chance to win, or were people just like, what has Mike done? And was there really anything he could have done about that?
Well, that's a tough part. If everything went the way that it did as far as like the healer purge, and somehow in some way Mike was able to save himself from that and get to the final three, obviously he did something, right? His social game, or he did something. I think he would have a strong argument at his final three. He's a great, I'm sure he'll give a great speech in the final three. But I think he would have the right people on the jury. I mean, he would have myself. Cole was already there. Desi was there. If Mike got to the final three, depending who he was, matched up against, I would give him my vote. Why not? I mean, he survived the healer purge, and not just survived that, but made it to the final three. There was no way that, Mike would have been like a GOAT. Like, you don't drag Mike there, But I don't know. This season, I don't know. Mike would have to be up against, I don't know who to win. He would have to do something. Like I said it, I think, in my exit interview, which wasn't aired, but when I got voted off, the first question was like, oh, if Mike makes it to the three, you're going to vote for your fellow coconut, right? And I'm like, no, Mike hasn't done anything yet. So up until the day I was voted out, Mike didn't really do anything, So, yeah, he would have to, like, completely flip his game the last 9 days, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I had said. I remember right before the finale, Phil and I were going over the different final three combinations, and I was saying that Mike, like at least according to what we've seen, has the 3 healer votes locked up. But it makes sense that like you wouldn't have seen that until the end, because even up until the finale, Phil and I were like, poor Mike's just been left out of everything.
Well, yeah, Mike. Well, the thing is, Mike was left out of everything, but Mike had a lot of influences on a lot of different vote outs. I mean, he was really in Devin's ear, and I don't think they really aired, but he definitely split Devin and Ashley from my understanding, not just from him, but from everyone else. He had Devin and Ashley were definitely a power couple, and he had them not feeling secure within that relationship. So that speaks volumes in regards to his his social game and his way to manipulate situations. But Mike, the thing with Mike was, I would always make fun of him, even when we created the coconuts, was Mike was not trustworthy. Like, this guy was willing to flip at any moment. He was going to flip. We would, it was Mike and I and Devin would sleep in the same area, like next to the beach. And Devin and I would just crack jokes all night about Mike, his gameplay. Like, Mike, why did you play the idol the way that you played? Like, who's working with you? Who's not working with you? Like, Mike was just like, anytime anyone went to the well for water, Mike was there. Like, if Chrissy was going to the well, oh, I'll go with you. If Ben was going, oh, I'll go with you. Like, he was just like, I didn't trust the dude. Like, by no means, I had to work with him by default, but I did not want to work with him. And obviously, Mike wanted me out. Mike wanted me out. Like, he was okay with me going home. He was already plotting on getting me out. I don't think too many people felt comfortable with me getting close to the end, by no means. So, yeah, that's the whole spill with Mike. But Mike's a smart player, but his execution was not well. He wasn't able to execute much at all, because not too many people trusted him. I think the only people that were really willing to work with him were Devin and Ashley, and they just needed him for a vote, you know.
Can you then shed some light on what went on at the Cole boot, please? Alex, I'm sorry if I jumped on you there, but that's all I think about is you even said, why did you play the idol that way? Like, what happened at the Cole boot when Mike was like, trust me, and you just sat there like, what the hell is going on?
Well, we all knew Cole was going home. Like, that was, you know, I voted for Cole, and it was clear that everyone was going to vote for Cole. The thing with Mike is, you know, I still don't know what he was thinking, but I praise him for at least trying to make a play. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, respect, at least you're trying to do something. You know, everyone's just playing safe. The guy's trying to make a move, whatever it is. It failed, but he was trying to make a move. So we went into tribal like, all right, what can we do? And Mike was like, no, I don't have an idol. I felt like he had the idol. It was between him or Ben. But Mike was just pretty much like, no, Joe, I don't have it. So we're like, all right, what are we going to do? So the reason why he pulled out his idol was because I guess he wanted to work with me and not work with Cole. So what he was going to do, which he did do, is he gave his whole Statue of Liberty speech, right? To get the targets, I guess some targets to him, right?
Yeah.
What they didn't air was he gave me a fake idol, okay? So I think before, so what he did was he gave me the fake idol. I open up the fake idol. It's wrapped in like the instructions of the idol. Mm-hmm. And I open it up, and it was so bad that I just start laughing. Like, I'm just like, everyone was looking at me like I had no, like, a straight poker face. Just didn't happen because the idol was that bad. So I closed it up real quick. So Mike goes off on his Statue of Liberty speech, and at that point, what he was thinking was like, all right, they think that Joe has the idol. They're not going to vote for him, right? And I'm going to give the speech, and then the votes that they were going to give to Joe, they're going to give it to me, and I'm going to play my idol, and that's how Joe's going to be safe, right? Mm-hmm. It sounds crazy, but Mike is crazy, so that's how it works, right? So that's kind of what happened. So when he explained it to me afterwards, I was like, well, kudos to you. I'll give you credit for trying to make a move, and thank you for trying to save me. But we all knew I was safe anyway, so you just blew an idol. But on the flip side, I'm like, all right, I'm glad you blew this idol, so now I could go off and maybe find this idol, because I had a feeling it was going to get replaced. And obviously it was, but I didn't find it, and Ben did. So that's what Mike was thinking for that vote out. So it doesn't make sense, like, when you, as a viewer, when you're watching it, especially since they did edit the fake idol out. So there was a lot more to that than what the viewers saw. Yeah.
So how was this fake idol built? Why was it so bad?
All right, so back on Healer Beach, right? So back at Healer Beach, I created chaos back there. Like, I'm just like, Mike has the idol. If he has the idol, we go to tribal. We can't vote him out because he's going to play the idol and he's going to take one of us out. So I caused all this chaos. And while I'm causing this chaos, I have the idol in my pocket, obviously, right? I was unaware that Cole had just mentioned, like, told everyone else about it. I was pretty confident that he had told maybe Rourke. But anyways, so Mike was paranoid. Mike didn't know that I had the idol, and no one else told him that I had the idol. So Mike went around and there was on the healer flag, there was like tassels underneath. And what Mike would do every night, he would cut one off. Right. So every day there was like a few tassels missing. We're like, what's going on? We all assumed it was Mike. And obviously it was. So what he did was he created a fake idol with the string that he, that confrontation that him and I had. And I'm like, what do you have in your pockets? And he pulled out like a string. So he made an idol with that string and the tassels from the Healer Beach. So when I opened it up, I mean, obviously it was like beads full of yellow. And I'm like, obviously this is from the Healer Beach and no one else bought it as well. So that's how he made his fake idol. Obviously, if he had informed me that he had the real idol, me and him could have probably, did something better than just blowing that idol. So,
well, and that's why it seemed it seemed like it was just bad timing because it seemed like you guys weren't going to really be able to work with Cole anyway. It seemed like losing Cole wasn't going to be the worst thing so that you and Mike could work together. You would still have an idol, and the two of you could put your heads together to figure something out, because I would think that most people were probably thinking Joe has an idol, at least at some point.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, that's the thing. At that point, Ryan had an idol. I didn't know that Mike had that Ryan had the idol, but the rest of the tribe knew that Ryan had an idol. So they were well aware that there was one more idol out in play. I think many assumed that Mike or I or myself had the idol. So that's the thing. Like, Mike shouldn't have played that idol. And that's why they were going to vote for Cole. And it was safe for us to know that they were going to vote for Cole because we knew that they assumed that Mike and I had the idol. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know why he played it. Like, the more you think about it, it's like Mike shouldn't have played it because him and I both knew that everyone else thought that him and I had the idol. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just but once again, I praise him for trying to make a move. But the more you try to, like, you know, justify his actions, it's not going to happen. Like, just like, you know what I mean? Like, there was no reason for him to play the idol. Like, there's none. I mean, he tries his best, but it just wasn't. Just because Cole was a clear target. If it wasn't a clear target like Cole, then yeah, maybe that was probably the safest thing to do. But it just wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah. And then go ahead, Alexa.
Just as a viewer, like, we see this whole speech. And then, like, we haven't talked to Cole in 20 minutes. And then Jeff goes, right before we vote, Jeff goes, "Oh, yeah, Cole, like, you've been hiding. Like, do you think they're going to ignore you?" And he's like, "No." And then they vote Cole off. So, like, all of that kind of happened. And we just, like, knew that Cole was going to go home after that.
Yeah, well, that speech, Mike's speech went on for a long time. Like, I think he only saw a couple seconds. Like, it was ongoing. Like, we were like, "Where are you going with this, Mike?" And it would just... It'll go here, and then it'll go there, and it'll go. It was all over the place. But I was just
you're wearing your bead necklace.
Yeah. I'm just laughing, like, legit, just laughing the entire time.
Well, and I think that's something I would say. I know if you've been listening to us, you know that I'm a huge fan of the trolling. I love it, and I think that people were letting you get in their heads. And that's why I would sit there and say, there's no way Joe's winning this game. And as I'm watching you on Twitter, I'm like, oh my God, Joe's still, like, mad about the game. And then you see you at Ponderosa and you're like, no, Joe was, like, liked out there. He was just trolling everybody. Like, he was just having the time of his life. He didn't care. Why do you think it was so easy for you to get under everybody's skin, though?
Well, it's a talent that I have. No, that's just kind of
beautiful.
No, it's I don't take anything serious. Like, you would never see me upset. I think probably a handful of people have seen me upset. I just don't get upset, and my friends and I, that's what we do. We troll each other all day, every day. And on my, personal Facebook and Instagram accounts, I've been doing this for decades. Like, legit, I just been doing this since day one. So going out on an island with people that, one, I have no connection with whatsoever. I just met them. And I was just able to pick up on their pet peeves quick. Like, it was just easy for me to just, like, this person is going to get teed off if I do this. This person is going to get teed off if I do that. And it wasn't my intention. I didn't want to do that. But when I had no other gameplay. Like, what else am I supposed to do? So I found my lane and I just ran with it. So when Ben's yelling at me or Chrissy's yelling at me or Ashley or Alan, I was literally dying inside. Like, I would go off to my confessionals and just let loose. And the producers would look at me like, "Yo, you're really enjoying yourself." I'm like, "Yo, I'm loving this. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, I'm entertaining myself. So that's kind of this. What I just don't take things serious. But every time, like, I did, when I got under people's skin, it was a reason. Like, when I called Ashley, I called her a goat. That was like something that it was a theme that was kind of brought up several times. So I'm like, wait a minute. If everyone thinks she's a goat, is everyone going to try to drag her? Okay, so let me, like, motivate her. Like, probably not the best way, but what better way than call someone a goat in a game of Survivor, right? Like, I'm going to put a battery on her back, and she's going to have to make a move, something. So by calling her a goat in front of the entire tribe, like, I think it did put, a batter on her back to the point that she was willing to make a big move. Like, oh, let's take out a Ben. Like, oh, I'm willing to take a JP out, So there was a reason, behind my madness. Like, I wanted to do that. And I did do that. So yeah, trolling is my thing. I love it. And that's why I love Twitter. Twitter is just like, it's too easy. It's nonstop.
And we were saying, like, every single week, we were like, guys, like, Joe is just playing you. Like, this is exactly what he wants from you. Like, he's doing this just to stay longer. And every single person fell for your trap. Like, I thought it was just crazy that no one realized that you were just trolling them.
And Joe, I would get in trouble because I would say you should be MVP, like, all the time because what you were doing was keeping you in the game. Like, you knew what you were doing, and it was a way to make sure you stayed 3 extra days. And people would be like, there's no way Joe can be MVP. And I was like, his game plan is working perfectly.
Yeah. Well, everyone kept saying, like, he's pissing everyone off. And that was the point that Phil made. Phil was like, yes, he is. And that's why he's here.
Yeah, well, it kept me. The goal was, I knew eventually it was going to work out. I mean, it kept me around for a couple of vote outs. But the goal was, all right, this is going to keep me around for a couple of vote outs, and at that point I could find some type of crack and then move forward into the game. The problem with me was I feel like others viewed me as a threat. You know what I mean? Strategically, like I really I helped a lot of people out there. Like, they might not want to give me credit, but some of them will come up to me and tell me that, like, strategy, and I'd be like, oh, that sounds like the dumbest thing in the world. Why don't you do this, that, and this? You know what I mean? Because people just weren't willing to work with me at all. They were just concerned, like, hey, if you get to the 3, then, someone's going to vote for you just because you've been playing hard since day one. And I understood the game. But I wish that I didn't speak so much strategy out there, because maybe they would have definitely dragged me to the end, like, this guy's just teeing everybody off. But it was more than just teeing people off. It was a combination of everything that I guess eventually got me voted out.
Yeah. So go all the way back to when you and Alan actually ended up on the same beach, and somehow Survivor Gods put you and Alan on the same beach. What was it like just going into that? Because Ashley and Alan weren't close at all on that first tribe. Alan tried to blow up Ashley's game immediately. But, like, what was going on there? And then with Devin, like, was there, like, were you always going to be, like, was Devin going to be with you, or was Devin going to be with Alan and Ashley, and then you ended up playing the idol anyway, but Devin didn't even get to vote.
All right, well, a few things with the swap. The swap, I was really excited because, one, so Desi's, obviously I have another healer. I didn't care what healer it was, as long as I had a healer with me. Desi and I had a decent relationship at the time. It wasn't like the relationship that her and I have now, right? She wasn't my ride or die at that point. Ashley, I was excited about Ashley. I'm like, all right, I knew she was a lifeguard. I'm like, oh, we're just going to win. Devin's a beast. And I was really excited about working with Alan, actually. Going into the game, I was like, I had Allie as part of my alliance because her and I went to, like, the LA auditions. So I already kind of seen her around. So I had her. I had dreams about her and Alan, like a physical, like, African-American male. Like, I'm like, yo, we're just going to dominate the game. So when I came into that swap, I'm like, yo, me, Desi, and Alan could really take it far. Like, I felt comfortable with them too. So we get to, to the first challenge, and it was Alan, myself, and Ashley. We had to do, like, jump through the hoops and all that crap. And I knew there was tension between them two, just the way they were communicating. Like, the way that he spoke to her was like, I'm like, I wouldn't speak to a female like that by no means, unless I'm, like, really close to her or I just really don't like her. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So at that point, I'm like, something's going on. So then we lose. So obviously when you lose in Survivor and you go back to the tribe, back to camp, you're just upset. Everything's just off. But luckily we did have chickens. We had 3 chickens and a rooster. So Devin and Ashley automatically clicked. I mean, they're both, cowabungers, surfers. They love the ocean. Like, that's their thing, So I don't know if they showed in my confessionals, but I'm like, I left one beach with lovebirds to another beach with, another couple of lovebirds. Jay, grab my charger real quick. My phone's going to die. So I was concerned about Ashley and Devin because I'm like, these two are extremely close, and they're just going to bring along my charger should be in the living room. They're going to bring along, what's his name, Alan. So it's always going to be them 3 against me and and Desi. That was automatic. There was no way I was going to bring Alan. There was no way I was going to bring Devin over to me without doing, whatever I created back at Les Vaux. So once we lost the second challenge, which was the immunity challenge, what they didn't air was once you lose, Jeff always asks like, "Oh, how do you feel about going to tribal, whatever?" And he asked me that, and I was just like, "Yeah, I know, right?" And this is my first one, so I'm like, but then it's checking in the bedroom. So what happens next is he asked me, and I'm like, "I'm excited, like I'm excited," and everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's my first time at tribal, and I'm excited." So that was like the first clue I kind of gave the entire tribe, that I'm excited about going back to that I'm going to tribal. So the reason why we decided to vote Alan was really because of Desi. So Alan disclosed to us that he played D1 football, right? He didn't disclose that with the initial label with the Heroes, right? So this was like new information for Ashley as well. So I'm like, wait a minute, why did he disclose that to us and not to them? And then his story just didn't add up. Okay, you're from Detroit, you played D1 football in Chicago, then you moved to Houston. That didn't line up well for Desi. Desi's like, you don't move to Houston to become a personal trainer. Then he's not certified in personal training, right? So I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Then he speaks highly of his wife, and I think she has like a PhD, and I'm like, what is a woman with a PhD doing with a dude that has nothing? Like, it just doesn't add up. Like, to me, just little things that add up. And Desi was like, then he had an injury with his bicep. And Desi was like, the gym that he supposedly trains at is a gym that she was familiar with. And they train like a lot of professional athletes. So I was like, yo, I want to work with this dude. Yeah, he's annoying. He is what it is. But I could work with him. But Desi was like, things are just not adding up. So with Ashley, it was like, all right, she's probably going to form this power couple with Devin. They're close, but there was too many unknowns with Alan. And we had, Ashley is just easy to read. I mean, she's the easiest person to read. So that's why we went after Alan. So that's when I caused the whole chaos. I knew what buttons to push for Alan. And once I pushed it, he just went 100 miles an hour, and it just continued and continued. And I was like, I got him. I knew that he was just going to have he was just going to have basically a hard on for me, and he wasn't going to vote any other way, and that's what happened. Like, legit, that's exactly what happened. So I didn't really care. The only way that my plan was going to work was Alan had to go home, right? So everyone was like, "Oh, who cares, Joe? If you play the idol correctly, you and Desi weren't going to go home as long as you play the idol." Well, if I played it incorrectly, yeah, me and Desi would have stayed home. I mean, we wouldn't have gone home, but Alan would have went back to camp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so I basically blew up my social game for what? I screwed myself, right? So Alan had to go home and Desi had to stay in because I knew I could probably like somehow fix my relationship with Devin and probably fix my relationship with, Ashley, and just tell Ashley, listen, I threw you under the bus because I wanted to target, Alan. So that's kind of like the whole Alan vote out happened. It was really, thanks to Desi. Desi just picked up on a lot of things that I wasn't able to pick up on. Obviously, based on her background, she was familiar with the gym. And that's why we went after Alan. So it wasn't personal. It wasn't anything. I was going after Ashley. I was like, I just want to split these two. But there was so many unknowns with Alan. I'm like, there's more to this guy than we know. And I just don't feel comfortable. Plus, pre-game, him and Ben were really close. So pre-game at Ponderosa, we're not able to communicate, but there's ways to communicate, right? Eye contact, hand gestures, whatever it is. And Ben has a huge personality, and he would stick out anywhere. So Ben would laugh and this and that. And then Alan has a huge personality. So Alan would just kind of follow suit. Whatever Ben did, Alan would do. You know what I mean? So they were kind of building a relationship at Ponderosa pregame. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to keep this guy around. Then we get to the merge and he's there with Ben, So there's a lot of things going on that obviously wasn't aired. But that was the real reason why we went after, Alan, and we kept Ashley.
That's crazy. I love all this.
I kind of went off.
No, it's fine.
No, that is so interesting.
Yeah, it's funny like how much goes on pre-game and everything now that like we don't even get to see, and like it's like probably how Survivor's been doing it all along, but for some reason now it's just gotten to a point where everybody's found their own little ways to communicate, and the game's become so much further advanced that it's like, all right, like I kind of know how those two people are going to act together, or those two people are going to act together. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's where the pregame is gonna screw you over. You know what I mean? Like it was so clear to me that, you know, Alan was close to Ben. Like legit, I knew they were close, and I was really concerned about, you know, Desi and Alan as well, because, you know, Ben had a huge personality, Alan had a huge personality, and then, you know, Desi sticks. I mean, she's obviously beautiful, and she has a huge personality as well, and she was kind of almost grouped in with those two as well. So I was almost concerned about, hey, maybe she would flip on me. So when she was coming to me with all this information and was willing to take Alan out, I was like, let's go for it, you know? And then what they didn't also show was me and Devin had this, I mean, him and I both knew that this wasn't going to happen, but him and I created this like a little alliance. It was like, all right, you bring 2 of your people and I bring 2 of my people, and, you know, final 6, like we called it back at Levu, like it's going to be a final 6, right? So right before the vote out, that tribal, I don't know if they aired it or not, but I showed Desi my idol. You know, I'm like, Desi, there's a reason why I did this. Like, you know, here's my idol. I'm willing to play for you. Like, trust me, we're good. So we're at the well, and Devin comes down. Hey, guys, you know, what are you going to do? Who are you voting for? And we're like, so right before he gets there, I'm like, yo, Desi, let's say we're voting, you know, that we're voting for Ashley. Her and I already said we're voting for Devin, right? But I'm like, yo, let's just say we're voting for Ashley. So he comes down. He's like, oh, who are you guys voting for? And I'm like, dude, we're voting for Ashley. And he's like, oh, man, all right. I already knew that they were, you know, lovebirds, right? So he's like, oh, man, you guys won't vote anybody else. Like, you won't vote for Alan. I said, listen, dude, I'm willing to vote for Alan if it's going to, you know, benefit our alliance down the road. So he was like, all right, I'll take that in consideration. So we told him that we'll vote for Alan. I mean, for Alan, based on if we could move forward, you know, down the road. So in his mind, he thought that he saved Ashley. And I think he thought that until we got to Ponderosa, really. And I was like, nah, dude, we saw you coming down. We were voting for Alan since day one, but we had to build something. Because we all had a feeling that if we get to the merge, that they were going to come after the healers, you know?
So when Jessica gave the disadvantage to Devin for that boot, did you ever talk to Jessica about that and like what her reasoning was?
Yeah, we never got any like clarity on that.
Yeah, it was so we get to the merge, and Ben and Jessica, they were arguing for like hours, like legit hours. And I was so frustrated because I would always try to like get, you know, Jessica's attention to trying to like interrupt that conversation and have a conversation with her because I didn't know what was going on. And this was right, like, you know, maybe a couple hours before Tribal. So anyways, I finally get a hold of Jessica. We're talking, and I'm like, so we're talking, and we're like, and I'm like, what are you arguing about Ben with? And she's like, no, he wants to vote out you or Cole, this and that. And I bring up the advantage, or she brings up the advantage. I'm like, what's going on with this guy, Ben? Like, why do you trust him so much? And she's like, oh, he's a really good guy. You know, he's a Marine, this. And I'm like, so what happened with the advantage? And she's like, well, that's the thing. Ben told me that he pretty much strong-armed me into giving it to Devin. I'm like, how so? And she explained that Ben didn't want Alan to receive it, and Lauren didn't want Devin to receive it. Ben really wanted me to get the advantage. I mean, the disadvantage, right? But she wasn't willing to do that. So the best thing for her socially, which I get it, was to meet both of them halfway and give it to Devin. So Lauren didn't really influence much. It was more Ben like, hey, all right, well, if you're not going to give it to Joe, then definitely don't give it to my heroes. Give it to somebody else. Another reason why I voted for Ben, the fact that he was able to kind of manipulate the whole situation, right? And he got it to Devin. at that point. But initially, I think she wanted to give it to Alan, obviously to one of the heroes, but she wasn't able to thanks to Cole, obviously.
Yeah, which seems like the theme of this season.
Yeah.
Thanks to Cole.
Yeah. So the viewers didn't get to see that, but yeah, that conversation was held between her, her and I, and they didn't show the whole argument between her and Ben. Ben really was going after myself or Cole, and she was just like, no, I'm not voting for them. And I should have picked up on that, but I just didn't think that Ben was going to argue with her for hours and be so invested in this relationship and then vote her out. You know what I mean? So I didn't really see her as a target, and that's why I think she thought that she was safe because, she was in an argument with Ben for hours.
Well, and it seemed like Ben and Lauren were trying to kind of keep their five tight. The Mike, Cole, Jessica, Ben, and Lauren. It seemed like Lauren was at least trying to tell. Well, it seemed like Lauren was trying to tell Ben that though, like, don't, like we said, the five of us, like, don't be like ridiculous. And it seemed like Cole would have been the easy target there because Ben and Cole just for whatever reason didn't get along at all.
Nah, I think that was all the edit, man. There's so much. Yeah. They could flip flop things any way they want. Did that conversation happen? Sure, but we don't know what happened before or after. Ben, there was no way that Ben was going to stick to that Yawa 5. Think about it. To me, is this hilarious just thinking about these healers, right? I love them to death, though. So you're in this new Yawa, right? And there's 3 healers as it is anyways, right? And you make this final 5, right? Oh, yeah, we're Yawa final 5. Mm-hmm. I guarantee that Ben did not say, hey, let's bring over our, my 2 heroes into our alliance, right? I'm sure Lauren did not say, let me bring over my 2 hustlers into our alliance. But the healers clearly stated, let's bring over 2 of our healers into this alliance. Ben's not an idiot. Lauren's not an idiot. They're not going to be like, yeah, we're going to be outnumbered, 5 to 2. Like, yeah, let's go for it. There was no way that they were going to do that, But that was the edit, because if not, it would have been just very clear that, a healer was going home, right? But yeah, I think that was simply just an edit.
Yeah. One quick. Sorry, finish your thought.
Nah, go ahead.
Just one quick. Back to the Allen vote out. Can you tell me what Ashley's face looked like? Like, can you give me a full description of what Ashley's face was telling you? Because I was so interested in the fact that you could just you knew what to do, based on how obvious her face was.
Well, the thing with what they didn't show was I stalled legit for 5 minutes. I was up there for 5 minutes. And Jeff was looking at me like I was crazy.
Giving a mic speech.
Yeah, no, he looked at me like I was crazy. So I went up there and I'm like, all right, this is an idol. He's like, okay. I'm like, can you verify that this is an idol? And he's like, I can only verify if you're going to play it. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to play it. And then he's like, he sticks his hand out like, okay, give me the idol. And I'm like, okay, I finally give him an idol. So that takes about a minute or 2, believe it or not. And then I'm like, can I play this with somebody else? And he's like, yeah, you can play it for somebody. So I stick my hand out, and he gives me back the idol, and he gives me back the idol, and I'm like, I think I'm going to play this for Desi. And then I stop, and Ashley at this point is just smirking. And this is someone that doesn't really smile that much. We called it a I'm not going to say it's RBF, whatever it's called, the resting, whatever it takes, right? So when she smiles, it's either she's up to no good or something really funny is happening, right? So it wasn't like, oh, I can read it, but it was just that obvious. And then that's when I was like, I'm gonna play it for myself. But that it was a strong delay. It wasn't like I just looked back and I saw a quick face. It was, I mentioned a few things and I mentioned Desi's name, and then I got a reaction once I said Desi's name. So that stall was like a good 3 to 5 minute stall between me and Jeff.
Damn it, that is a long time.
Yeah.
What I like about it, Joe, is at that point, people saw you as such a villain that even though you played the idol right, and you and Desi both walked out of there alive, and you did play the idol for the correct person, people still were saying that you were being selfish and played it for the wrong person, and that you were full of shit because of this staring at faces.
Well, what's crazy is So at that point, the way that I looked at it was, it was dumb of me, but I'm like, if I play this right, it kind of solidifies that I am, that I'm pretty much gonna, ride for my team. In a game of Survivor, you can't really trust anyone. So I felt like if I do this right, people will trust me. So that move to me was just, it was much more than just surviving an additional 3 days. Like I felt like it was going to set precedent in the future with any alliance that I create, and I was definitely willing to play it for Desi if I felt like Desi was going to go home, because if I played it incorrectly and Desi did go home, then guess who's next? Like, it's just going to be me anyways, So I never played the game of Survivor just to last an additional 3 days. I always played it like, I need to get to day 39, Obviously, I never played it safe, and I wasn't going to play safe, but I felt like that, if I felt at that moment, call me crazy, I felt like I won the game. Like, it was almost emotional for me. Like, I put my buff down. I'm like, I got this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like this idol, I knew that there was another idol out there that no one found it. So I was like, I'm going to grab another idol, and I feel like I got this. My healers are going to trust me, because I felt like some of them just didn't really trust me. So that move to me was much more than just lasting another 3 days or playing it correctly. It was like, I know I'm solid now with Desi. I think she was iffy on me before. And then from that moment on, she was my ride or die, obviously.
And why did they boot Desi instead of you, even after the tie vote? Because it seemed like normally when they do a tie vote, they go for the more aggressive player, which clearly between you and Desi was you. Why do you think they ended up voting Desi out instead of you?
Well, that was tough. I'm going to tell you why that was tough, because I knew Desi was never going to vote for me, like legit. And I told her, like, Desi, I'm never going to write your name down. Like, I'm never going to do it. And that's my word. And I was very honest in the game, and I was loyal. So her and I both knew we were going to write each other's name down. But I knew she was going home. I knew I didn't have to write her name for her to go home. I knew that these two knuckleheads, Mike and Cole, were going to, work with the majority. So I knew there was going to be 9 votes, right? So I'm thinking it's going to be 4 to me and then 5 to Desi. So when I saw 4-4, I'm like, crap. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I completely just screwed myself at that point, because I felt like if I voted for Desi, if they really wanted me out, it would have been, let's say they give me 5 votes and give Desi 4, and I vote for Desi, that would have been 5-5. They're just going to get me on the backside, right? So that's why I never voted for her. So when I saw the 4-4, I was at that point, I was concerned. But I think they went after Desi because with me, at least, they knew who I was. Like, Joe's going to play aggressive. Yeah, he may be dangerous, but there was too many unknowns with Desi. Desi was not an open book. Desi only strategized with very few people. She strategized with me. And many people didn't just trust her, And then on top of that, they were more concerned about physical threats than anybody else. Lauren, Devin, they both came up to me prior to that tribal and were like, I don't trust Desi, So I had a feeling that Desi was going to go home that night. So I think that's the reason why they went after her. They were more concerned about physical threats, and that's why they went after JP and Cole and everybody else. They were all concerned about physical threats and not really concerned about.
And then Chrissy goes on to win 4 immunities because she's a puzzle wizard. Like,
well, not
why do you think they went? No, go ahead.
She wasn't. I mean, obviously she's a puzzle wizard, but she was a beast in challenges even prior to that. Like, even the first individual immunity challenge, like she was like the last 4. Like, she was in the last 4. She was the 4th to last person to get get eliminated. Yeah, when we were doing the one that Desi won, and then the one right after that. I mean, she was a beast in challenges, and she would come back to camp and be like, "Oh, I'm like the dark horse. I didn't think I was gonna last that long." I'm like, "Bullshit! Come on!" Like, it was so annoying. Like, she was playing this card, and I was like, "She's playing it well, but no one's seeing it." And I think that's one of the reasons why the healers went after her initially. Like, she was one of the. I mean, we went after her first because we saw her as a threat. I mean, she was immediately one of the top threats, but they wanted to go after the physical threats. Don't know why, but that's just how Survivor's been, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I feel like going after physical threats at the beginning of the merge hasn't been a thing for a little bit, but this season with like Desi, JP, Cole, at the beginning, it was just physical threat after physical threat. Why do you think they did that instead of going for like the Chrissies and the U's earlier on?
Because all the real threats were within an alliance, and everyone wanted just to play safe. So when you're playing safe, I mean, I think that's, I mean, this season, I mean, I don't know. This season is just a weird season. I don't think it's, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what they were thinking. I think it was smart for Chrissy to go after physical threats, right? Because she's a monster. I think it was smart for Ryan to go after physical threats because he's a monster, like Ben as well. So I think it was just for them to stay safe. They just had to, you know, say, hey, let's go after these physical guys because they're, you know, there's no one has ever won more than 4 individual immunity challenges, right? It just hasn't happened in Survivor history. So, but it was easy to manipulate everybody else to just go after these guys because the 7 were just so safe. They felt really safe and secure. But it was tough out there. There was no way to kind of break that 7, and there was no way to be, you know, I would go every day like, hey, guys, the 7's not going to last. Let's go after, you know, a true threat. Let's forget these physical threats. They're not going to last forever. But no one wanted to listen because I was in the minority at that point.
Well, and then finally we get to the point where the 7 are like, we're going to break each other up. And or you know, we have Ben, Devin, Lauren, they put their plan into motion with you and Mike, even though you and Mike weren't completely in on it. Why did they get rid of JP? I know he's a physical threat. I know we just talked about this, but they got rid of JP over Chrissy and Ryan. To me, that's like crazy.
Well, yeah, obviously it was crazy. It was, well, at that point, yeah, right? At that point, me and it wasn't, I mean, me and Mike were never part of the alliance. We knew that, but it was an extra, right, 3 days, right? Yeah. And to me, it wasn't even 3 days. I was like, yo, I already had my plan. Like, I'm just going to flip-flop. After JP's going, I'm flip-flopping. Like, Mike, I don't know what you're going to do, but this is my game plan. So I already had my game plan. Like, I'm going to take JP out. I'm going after Chrissy next. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But it just didn't turn out like that. So once they told me JP, like, I was like, are you guys serious? Like, why not Chrissy? You know, at that point, I knew Ryan had the idol. So I'm like, why aren't we flushing this idol out? You know what I mean? Like, common sense. Like, these 7 knuckleheads were willing to keep someone within their alliance of 7 with an idol. Who does that? Like, that at that point, I mean, I already knew I was playing with idiots, but at that point, it just solidified, like, who I was playing with. I was like, there's no way you're going to allow someone with an idol and not flush it out, but we're going to go after JP, which one is never going to get anyone's vote. And why wouldn't you keep JP? Like, you know, yeah, you're going to get rid of me at some point, but why wouldn't you just keep him around as a GOAT? Like, the guy hasn't really strategically hasn't done anything. We know he's not going to do anything. And besides catch fish, like, why wouldn't you keep him around, you know, to feed us, if anything? But me and Mike really had no influence. We were just, you know, part of their vote. And obviously now looking back at it, they're like, oh, maybe we should have done something, but it was just a very easy, safe vote for them, and that's why they did it. You know, if you're playing safe, which they have been, I think that's probably the best vote, right? Just vote out JP. It's consistent.
I guess, but at the same time, you have a tight pair that's pretty blatant, right? I mean, Ryan and Chrissy were blatant in their alliance, weren't they? Like, were they not as tight? Like,
and they made the final 3.
Yeah, Ryan and Chrissy were, yeah. Well, yeah, Ryan. There was a couple of alliances that weren't really shown that were, yeah. So like Ryan and Chrissy were obvious. So was Devin, Ryan, and Lauren. They were pretty obvious too. Like Devin told me back at Levu, like I trust Ryan and Lauren with my life. Like he was a diehard fan for both of them. So I didn't understand why they weren't willing to break up those 2, but I knew why they weren't willing to break up them 2, you know?
Yeah, I got
so it. I knew they weren't willing to go after Ryan and flush his idol because Devin, in reality, was still working with Ryan, and Lauren was still willing to work with Ryan as well, you know? So you're not going to eliminate someone when that's kind of like your plan B type situation, you know? So, you know, that's when I suggested Ben, but obviously Ben was part of that alliance, you know what I mean? So the only other option was really JP, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I don't know, but it is funny, like you said, they're looking back thinking maybe they should have gotten rid of someone else because Chrissy and Ryan end up making it to that final tribal council.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when you're playing Survivor, and you're just playing for an additional 3 days, or you're just playing to get to like, at that point, people were just concerned about the family visit. Many of us, I mean, not myself, but there was a couple people just there for the family visit. Like, they didn't care about winning. You know what I mean? So when you don't care about winning, you just want the easy vote outs, right? You're just going to do the easiest thing just to get to the next 3 days. So when you have a group of people that willing just to move forward, easy vote outs are like easiest thing and probably the best decision to make. Going after Chrissy at that point was a move that would be made by a player that wants to win the game. You know what I mean? Someone that wants to win. And, you know, they just weren't – they wanted to get to the family visit at that point. That's all it was.
That's crazy. That is so crazy.
I mean, go ahead.
I mean, that's just my perception of things. Like, at that point, the JP vote out was day 27, right? Right? So day 27. I mean, Ashley, if you want to win, like, you know, I think Ashley was really cool, but she wasn't doing anything. There's a reason why I called her a GOAT. There's a reason why multiple people called her a GOAT out there. It was like, what are you going to do in 9 days? I mean, in 12 days, like, legit, what are you going to do? Like, there's no way that you're just going to magically just start playing the game in 12 days. 27 days have gone by. You haven't done anything at that point. Lauren was there to play. Like, she definitely wanted to play, but she was also playing safe as well. Like, you know what I mean? She wanted to kind of play safe. She wanted to go after Ben because she knew she had to go after Ben, but she was willing to wait a little bit longer to go after Ben. Devin was all, you know, social. It was all social. He wasn't really willing to pull the trigger because he wanted to keep Ben around as a shield, you know? And then Ryan and Chrissy, they worked as a pair. So to win them over, you had to win both of them over. You know what I mean? They were a tough duo. They were definitely tough.
And were people looking at Chrissy and Ryan as people who could win the game? Because we see them lose to Ben, but Ben just seemed like he was going to beat anybody, no matter who he sat next to. Was that another reason why maybe people weren't looking to get rid of them so early because they thought they could beat both of them if they got there?
Yeah, at that point, I mean, at JP vote out, yeah, you could probably say that. Yeah, I think Chrissy just really her social game wasn't the greatest, right? She really teed off a lot of people. So I think some may feel that they could beat her out. Ryan, some really felt like they could definitely beat Ryan out. So maybe that's another reason why they kept him around. I'll be the first one to say I had no idea Ryan was playing the game that he was playing when I was in the game. Like, that's how behind the scenes Ryan was. I think Ryan played a great game, and if Ryan got to the final 3 with Chrissy and Devin, I'm sorry, but like, for him to call that alliance out on day 3 and say, I'm going to give this to Chrissy, build a relationship, I'm going to tell Devin and build this relationship, and somehow, some way, get those two with him to the final 3, and he basically called that on day 3. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to give him the money. But I don't know if people felt like they could. I think that could be it. But we all knew Chrissy was a threat. Like, we knew that she was a strategic beast. So I don't know that. I just think people just felt comfortable just with the easy vote outs. And if something's easy and the game is Survivor and you just want to last a couple more days, and that's what you do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the game that you guys thought Ryan was playing when you were in the moment?
Excuse me. Oh, I didn't trust Ryan at all. Like, Ryan called himself a weasel. Someone called him. I knew he was a weasel. I knew he was there for a reason. I knew that, you know, from day one, he was looking for an advantage. I also knew that he found an idol. So my game, I thought he was just playing. I would never go to final 3 with Ryan. I just thought he was just playing like more of a like a social game. Like, I thought his game was more like, oh, let me just be social and let me be part of the votes, and that's it. No idea that he was, being like the strategic player that he really was. And kudos to him for really playing behind the scenes and being. I think I mentioned it in Tribal Council, the final Tribal Council. I was like, was Ryan truly like a puppet master? You know, and I wanted Devin to co-sign because Devin knew his game, knew Ryan's game, but wasn't really willing to to advocate for Ryan or explain Ryan's game. So I couldn't take Ryan's explanation of what he accomplished in the game for face value because his game wasn't out in the open. You know what I'm trying to say? So Devin needed to co-sign, but Devin wasn't willing to co-sign. Like Chrissy's game was out in the open. Ben's game was out in the open. Ryan's game was never out in the open.
That's weird that Devin... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is something that I kind of wanted to understand here then. You just kind of opened my eyes to this because even after watching it, I didn't really click. Like, Ryan would have put that final three together had Devin gotten to the end. Like, it would have been all Ryan. He brought the three of them together. What, though, if Devin gets to the end instead of Ben, if Devin wins that fire-making challenge, in the moment, do you vote for Ryan or do you think you still vote for Devin or Chrissy?
It's going to be between Ryan and Chrissy for so many reasons. So I'm a Survivor fan, right? So I started watching Survivor maybe like 6 years ago, whatever, and I binge watched through every season. But it took me one audition tape to make it on the show. It takes people years and years and years, right, trying to get on the show, right? So how disrespectful would it be that you finally get on the show, right, and you decide to quit an individual immunity challenge for a back rub?
Mm-hmm.
That's a smack in your face. Like, nah, bro. Like, here I am on a jury. You know what I'm saying? And I hear this, like, yeah, tribal, right? I'm at tribal, and they're like, oh, well, Devin quit for a back. I was like, what? Like, put me back in the game, and I would have been up there, you know, trying to figure it out. So there's no way I was going to give him $1 million. So when I was voted out, I thought he was playing a very good game. But the more I went to tribal and you know, obviously we got information, I was like, there's no way I'm going to give this kid $1 million when he basically quit and he sat out another challenge for peanut butter. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not a Survivor winner. Like I just can't give it to him. You know what I mean? So
no, I hadn't even thought of that. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, if it was Devin, Christy, and Ryan, it would have been between Christy and Ryan. You know what I mean?
Do you think other people would have voted for Devin or no? Because you were the king of Ponderosa, so.
Honestly, I really was. I could sway them any way I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing is, I'm being dead honest. Like, the funny thing is, they knew that when they put me on a jury. So I would go around every single tribal, every single day, like, yo, if Ben makes it to the final three, I am voting for Ben. And they're like, all right, first of all, Joe is just trying to manipulate us. Joe is lying because there's no way he's going to vote for Ben. Ben hates Joe. Joe hates Ben. It's not happening. And look what happened. I'm a man of my word, like, legit. I didn't vote for him just to like throw it on them. I voted for Ben for so many reasons, but that was an additional reason why I voted for Ben. You know.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think Devin didn't sell Ryan's game when Devin, in the end, voted for Ryan to win?
Honestly, I think Devin was just clocked out. Once he got to Ponderosa, he was clocked out. He was, the game was over, and for many of us, the game was just over. We just some of us spoke about the game, some of us didn't. And especially the way he got eliminated, I don't know what was going through his mind. And even watching his, the jury speech on the secret scenes or whatever, the jury speech on YouTube, I don't think it was clear that he was going to vote for Ryan. He felt that Ryan got dragged to the end if you watch that YouTube video. So I think his vote kind of changed in the end when he realized, like, oh, crap, this kid really did play this game. And I think Devin played a great game, but I think there was a lot of influences. I think Mike influenced him a few times. I think Ryan influenced his game. I think I influenced his game. I think he played a really good game, but I think there was a lot of external influences that kind of steered his game into the path that he made, you know?
Yeah, and one of the concerns that Phil and I had about Devin, assuming he got to the final tribal, was that people wouldn't take his game seriously because he really played up that like surfer bro mantra, and so it seems like it would have been tough to sway people.
I don't know how others feel about that. I spent a lot of time with Devin, so I knew there was a lot more to Devin than just the surfer guy. I mean, the guys, we had so many conversations, so I knew he was a smart guy, and I knew there was a lot more to him than just the whole surfer thing. So I don't think that would have affected, people's decision, because I don't think we really saw him as like an airhead or anything like that. Is he a surfer? Yeah, but there's so much more to that guy. He's a good, solid guy. He's extremely smart, and I think we all saw that out in the island as well. But it would have been difficult for him to articulate his game along with Ryan, knowing how Ryan is. Ryan's a beast. At Final Travel, he went in, so there was no way if Devin said, well, it was really me that made this move, I think Ryan would have been like, nah, bro, like, this is what really happened. And obviously Ryan's a lot more articulate than Devin. We would have been like, all right, that was really Ryan's move. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, final three would have changed. Ben was out. It would have been between Chrissy and Ryan. Maybe the jury would have felt differently, but I would have been in Ponderosa probably preaching for them too. And I don't know, you know.
I hear you. I hear you. So then what is it, though, that made – the reason why I still think Devin probably wins is you just talked about he steps down for a back rub, yet he's so likable that they still don't vote out that anybody from that pair. They don't vote him out, even though he just said, I'm so tight with Ashley, it's pretty much like her winning immunity is like me winning immunity. Like, normally in Survivor, people are like, that's a pair, get rid of that one.
It's like a huge red flag.
Yeah.
All right, so at that point, I don't know who's around. So that happened at Ryan, Chrissy, Ashley. So Mike was still around, right? So
that was right after you went, I think, isn't it?
No. Was Lauren in the game? No, Lauren's gone.
When Lauren goes?
That might be when Lauren goes. Is that the challenge where Lauren
the show. Down? Yeah. No, she finds the show, yeah. So it is the reason why they don't vote him out is because he's part of the majority. Why vote him out? He's part of the majority. That's why he was able to do it. The dude's not a dummy. I mean, he's not a dummy. He's like, yo, I could do this because my alliance is strong. Like, he was at that point, he was overconfident. You know what I mean? Like the more once the healer started going down, like, you could see he was just getting like a little bit more cockier. Like, I slept next to the dude every day. Like, that's so from day 9 to day 30. So I spent 21 days with him. Like, I slept next to him 21 days. We had many conversations. You know what I'm saying? So he just got cocky and cocky as it went, and he really truly believed that he had like a strong alliance. Like, there were times that it would be Mike, Devin, and myself. We would always sleep next to the beach, so we would sleep away from camp. And I would try to like, I would crawl up a little bit and kind of like try to hear what they were talking about in the middle of the night. And he's like, Joe, you're just wasting your time. I'm like, what you mean I'm wasting my time? I'm creeping. Like, that's what I do. And he's like, no, you're just wasting your time. I had ears everywhere. And I'm like, this friggin' fool. Like, that's how cocky he was. But in reality, He did have ears everywhere because he built these strong relationships with everyone. You know what I'm saying? So his social game was as good as Ryan's social game for sure.
So now,
he was getting cocky at the end.
He was. I mean, he's the guy who on day 38 breaks his flint in half and then says, "Oh, that's good enough. I'll be fine." Like
the Survivor gods are telling me I'm gonna win it.
Yeah, I need to lay down. But if you're still in the game, when these knuckleheads, as you keep referring, when these knuckleheads are letting Ben run around the island looking for these idols, what are you doing at that point if you're still in the game?
Well, once Ben plays that first idol, so the thing with idols, once you find the first one, you get this sense of like something comes over you. You're like, I can do it again. Like it just happens like instantly. You know, there's times that like my second idol, you know, I dug for that for a while. So everyone makes fun of my second idol. Like, it was in the same location as the last one, but I wasn't digging in the sand. Like, this was rocks. This was hard dirt. So it's a little bit different than just digging the sand. You know, digging in the sand is nothing. So I would dig and dig and dig. And when I finally found it, I was like, great, I found it. But when I was digging, I was like, I'm not giving up because I know it's in there. But if it was my first idol, I probably would have gave up. I would have been like, I'm not digging as long. So when Ben found his first one and he played it, I knew for a fact he would go out there and try to look for another one. And he was not going to stop until he found another one because you just have this, it's like something just takes over you, like, yo, I could do it again. So I probably would have just been hugging Ben the entire time. Like, if you going to sleep, I'm going to be your blanket. You know what I'm saying? So when you get up, we get up together. Like, you know, especially at night. Like, at night, you could cause a lot of damage. And there was no way that anyone was going to wake up in the middle of the night and I wasn't going to be up with them, you know. So kudos to Ben. Like these they would be knocked out. I mean, these guys would not wake up in the middle of the night. Trust me, they would be knocked out snoring.
And that's what I found so crazy is that like you just said, you would have been the blanket, and they were just like letting Ben run free. And like so many Survivor fans right now are mad about this season because it was idle, and then Final Four twist. And everybody's like, Ben like had it so easy, and it's like Ben didn't have it easy. Ben just actually went and hunted, and everybody else kind of just like didn't.
Talked about his hunting.
Yeah.
No. Like, you know, it's edits as well. I'm pretty confident the other guys were out there, you know, looking as well.
At least a little.
Yeah, I mean, when Ben found his first idol, I mean, I looked in that area like 50 million times. I didn't stop looking, you know what I mean? And I just never came across it. So you never know when they're going to place it. You could overlook a clue. There's so many different variables, you know. But I think Devin, Ryan, and Mike, they went out as a pair, as a group, and they looked for days, they said, and they just couldn't find it.
Wow.
I'm not sure if Ben had already found it, but once you find the first one, like, if you think about it, Ben and I were the only ones that found an idol with the clue. So they didn't know how the clues looked. They didn't know it was paint, you know what I mean? Besides myself, Ben, and Cole, no one saw a clue before, you know? So they don't know. They were probably sticking their hands in on, I don't know, in holes and stuff, trying to find like a clue of some sort. The clues weren't there. The clues were on a tree or on a rock. Actually, I take that back. Lauren found a clue as well.
Yeah, Lauren saw the one.
Yeah. So I mean, there's I don't know. I don't know how Ben did it, but he obviously did it. And yeah, I would have been his blanket, dude. I mean, legit.
So while we're talking about idols, will you ever, if you play Survivor again, will you ever eat last at a reward challenge? Ever again? At the reward, the one where you got to pick the order and you went last and they hid the plate on you.
Yeah, I think I would definitely do it again. I'm gonna tell you why.
All right, I'm listening. I'm ready.
I forgot about the pasta.
So check this out. If they do this again, guess where the idol's gonna be? It's gonna be. I think if they do this again, I think they're going to. All right. So when this happened for me, I think what. So I'm trying to think, like, if this happens again, I would definitely. I don't think you want to be first because everyone's going to assume that you had the idol now. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So if this plays out again, like next season, you're screwed if you went first because automatically they're going to think, all right, this happened in season 35. Like, people break stuff down out there. You have the idol, you know what I mean? So if this happens to me again, I'm going last for sure. But the reason why I went last this time was the last thing I thought was there was going to be a clue to the idol. I'm like, they're not going to make it that easy, you know? This was the first season that they actually had a clue on a tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually it's, you know, a little piece of paper. You find something. This is the first time the clue was actually physically on a tree. So I'm like, there's no way that they're going to have an idol this easy because the clues were even that easy to find. No one found the clue pre-merge. You know what I'm saying? So there was 3 idols, 12 days, you know, and no one found a clue besides myself. You know what I'm trying to say? So I didn't think it was going to be that easy. I thought it was going to be an advantage. And I'm like, I don't want no crap advantage. I want an idol. So the way I went into it was, I'm just going to go last. I want to distance myself from any advantage. And that backfired on me because it was there was actually an idol there, you know?
And they hit the plate on you. Dude, were you suspicious when there was no plate and your spaghetti was just on a napkin?
Yeah, well, it was easy because Cole was dying to tell me something, right? So where I finished eating and he's dying to tell me something, but there's too many people around. I'm like, damn, there's something there, and Cole found it. And we get back to camp, and you obviously know what happened. He went off to use the bathroom, and I was like, who would do that, you know? And then he explained to me what happened. He was like, oh, it's on a plate. I put a napkin over it, and
Alexa just fell off, and I don't know why. She's back.
There you go.
She's back. I'm listening. I'll catch her up.
Yeah, so I knew it was suspicious, but I still didn't know that Ryan had the idol. It was between Chrissy, Ryan and JP. We assumed had the idol, but I didn't think it was an idol. I still thought it was an advantage.
Yeah, so that's the other thing too. Like, it was funny how that escalated. Where like Cole hit it with the napkin, which was, I mean, it's not. Everybody was just saying that was so dumb, and I was like, it really wasn't that dumb of a move. Like what are you thinking at that point? You're starving, so like who knows? And then you give it to Chrissy. Like also was like, oh, I knew it was there, and then Ryan goes and actually hides the plate. And I get like Chrissy wanted Ryan to actually see it, but
no, she didn't. No, she didn't. That's just a cover up.
Oh, so she was covered. Okay.
Yeah, well, in Survivor, what you could do when you make a stupid mistake, you could easily just kind of like recorrect that during a confessional. Like, why would you allow? Like, Chrissy's a smart. She's an amazing player. There's no way that she's gonna allow someone else to have. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think that was a cover up. But what they didn't show was when I went to eat, I destroyed that place. I actually went out to the woods where he hid the plate. But he hit it pretty well. Like, I threw up some branches. Like, I dug a little bit. I looked. I'm like, there's got to be something out here because there was no plate. Mm-hmm. But good for Ryan for doing what he did. So when I saw where he dug it up, I'm like, crap. I sat on that. It was a log. He put it in between the logs. Like, I sat on that log, and I was just like thinking, like, where would I put a plate? Like, where would I put it? Good for him.
He put it in a place you wouldn't have put it, clearly.
Yeah.
So we lost Alexa for a second. She's trying to get back in. I don't know what happened to her. I guess a little technical difficulty, but Joe, I'll ask you, was there anything, maybe even from the healer speech, but you can really just do whatever you want. Was there anything that you wish that they would have talked to you? Hey, Alexa's back.
I am back, guys. Sorry about that.
Is there anything that you wish they would have shown that you like did, or like some big moment that they just didn't even put on the air that you expected to be on or was hoping would have been on?
At Haler Beach, man, let me tell you something.
Even anytime, but especially
anytime,
Beach, nothing.
Nah, so I'll, if you want me, I could break it down to each camp.
Let's go.
So, Haler camp was that was a resort, right? So what I mean by a resort, like, we have food, and we would get, like, we would have like spa days, like legit spa days. We'll go to the beach and we'll just have like a spa, like, put sand on us and bathe the whole night. And then what we would do is at night we would have Jessica had this. She's gonna kill me, but whatever. She used to have these face stories, right? She would, like, I don't know. She never did it to me. She would do it to Cole and everybody else. Like, I wasn't with all that. But she would do, like, face stories. And, like, I don't know if you're familiar with face stories, but, like,
no idea
she'll tell you the story and, like, touch your face. I don't know. I thought it was common. I don't know. But
I never heard of it.
I have no idea what this is.
She'll make a story and, like, I don't know, touch your face. That's just her. But anyway,
does the story come from your face? Like, how does it work?
I don't know. We're gonna have to ask Jessica, man, because I never got a story. So Devin got a story. I think even at the merge, Cole got stories. I think Dr. Mike might have got. No, I don't think Dr. Mike. Anyway, so we would sleep obviously next to each other, and we would all take turns giving each other back scratches and back rubs, like legit every single night. And Mike and I would be like, yo, what the hell are these kids doing? Like, they think this is a vacation. We're out here trying to, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to get this money. So they didn't show any of that because it's all kumbaya stuff. Also, Mike is a monster. Mike would wake up every single night to look for an idol. Every single night. In the middle of the night. This dude was a savage. And what they didn't air was Mike would go off to find an idol. And, cameraman will follow you. I would wake up and follow him and the cameraman. So no one knew I was following them, but I was following them, So that was kind of like what was going on in Gila Beach that no one kind of knew about. Also, like, my first clue when I found the idol, that first clue, I never said, I don't know if I'll even get in trouble for saying this, but it is what it is. I would just put it like this. I never thought it was the raft. I found that clue. When I found that clue, nobody, when I say nobody on this earth knew I found that clue, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'll leave it like that. And in addition to that, when I told Cole, everyone kind of gave Cole like this whole backlash. like, oh, you're an idiot for telling Joe. He didn't want to tell, like, obviously he told me what it was, but he tried to backtrack a little bit and say, hey, Joe, we've been away from camp for too long. Why don't I go, to the water well and dig it up, and I'll give it to you because, I'm always off on and about, and it's not going to be suspicious. Then that, when you're away from camp, people think, it's suspicious. So I was like, nah, bro, like, we're both away from camp. We're going to get this together. Like, I need to make sure that either I have it or you have it. Like, you're not going to play me. You know what I mean? So he was smart about it. He was trying to be sneaky and like, oh, let me just go off and find it. And so that didn't happen. Back at Levu, nothing really happened. We had 3 chickens and a rooster. Didn't show, like, the chickens escaped. That happens so often, I guess they didn't want to show it. But the chickens escaped. I love
watching the chicken chase.
Yeah, the chicken chase was crazy. So we did that. I think when they kind of showed that. At the merge, a lot of stuff happened at the merge. I can't even think about half of the stuff that happened at the merge that they didn't show. But they didn't really show a lot of relationships at the merge. I mean, I had a really good relationship with Lauren. Lauren's a hoot, by far, like, one of the funniest people I've ever met. Her and I spent a lot of time with each other. So they didn't really show that much of that relationship. Mike and I, the coconuts, they only showed like seconds of the chaos and the craziness and the stupidity that him and I
give us a good stupidity. What was it?
Give us some stuff.
All right, so what we did was I think at some point you see like a chessboard, right? You see Ryan and Mike playing chess, right? I think like the last episode. Well, Devin, I think it was Devin, myself, and Mike. We created this chessboard, right? We had paint, we had this and that. So at one point, I think the JP vote, we're like, yo, listen, guys. We had to play it off. We knew JP was going home, whatever. So, no. At this point, we didn't know JP was going home. So we're like, listen, guys, I know it's going to be another healer. It's going to be between Mike and myself. So me and Mike are going to play this game chess. Whoever loses, you can vote us out. Like, we voluntarily just quit. You know what I mean? So Mike and I would just go back and forth playing chess. And at that point, the rest of the guys were like, yo, these guys, they gave up, So they didn't show that. Me and Mike went through a lot of stuff. So the coconuts, we would go looking for coconuts, and that's where I think that's where the name coconuts came up. The reason why we went looking for coconuts, one, we had no food, and second, it was the only option I had to actually really look for an idol. So Ryan would follow Mike and I everywhere we went. So Mike and I would go off looking for coconuts. And guess who would come along? Ryan. So Mike would always say, oh, they got you babysitting, which in reality they did have Ryan babysitting us. But that was the only way I was able to leave camp and look for an idol without anyone really hounding me. So it's funny how they were able to hound me but not follow Ben.
Yeah, right. Like,
at the end of the game too.
Yeah. Like if I went looking for coconuts, like Ryan would follow me. Like if Mike went looking for coconuts, he would be followed. So. Another reason why I was so upset when Ben found his first idol, because his first idol, I mean, he found the clue, but the actual idol was in a vase on a coconut tree. And I would pass by that, I would look for coconuts on every coconut tree, and I obviously didn't see it. So, but that's the only thing I could really, I mean, there's so much that happens. I don't know what they aired and what they didn't air. But I mean, think about it. It's only, it's a 40-minute episode, which covers 3 days. So you can only imagine.
I'm sure there's a little bit left out.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just a tiny bit.
Just a tad bit,
what we liked about this season was that we got to like know your guys' personalities, and obviously we didn't get to explore every relationship like Devin and Lauren, like you just said. But on the whole, we felt like we actually got a dive into you guys, and we saw Alan struggling with coconuts, like Cole going into the food, like just real people.
Yeah, do you like that foreshadowing? No, I think that was foreshadowing. Like he couldn't break a coconut.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm. So I think that was definitely
coconut breaks Alan.
Yeah. So I think the editing in the season was amazing, but the reason why the editing had to be amazing because the season sucked. So they had to like, you know what I'm saying? Like they had to do it. So I mean, think about it. Like I love the cast, But the season was whack. Like, I mean, I think that's why they didn't ask us a question in the end. Like, I don't blame CBS. Like, it wasn't it just wasn't. Yeah, I don't know.
And every opportunity that, like, as a viewer, we got to see Jeff, he's like, yeah, the first half was kind of cagey, but it gets a lot better, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And that's like, it kind of sucks.
Honestly, I think I like the first half better than the second half. Which might make me psychotic, but that's what I thought.
No, I mean, it makes sense. There was a lot. I mean, think about it. Allie was a favorite early on, right? She goes home early. And then she had, I mean, I just finally got into like this whole, what is it called? Edgic or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you get into that. People are like, oh, she's definitely going far. So I think that really threw people off a little bit. Yeah, the first half was cool. I mean, but I don't know. I was really expecting, the reason why I'm upset, obviously, I'm not upset because I lost, because only one person is going to win, right? You have a very small chance of winning the game of Survivor. And that's why I played as aggressive as I did, because I felt like, listen, there's only like a very small percentage I'm going to win. I might as well just go all out. And if I lose, I lose. But coming from, like, forget Game Changers, because that season was horrible. But, like, the season prior to that, what was it, 30? Was it Gen X? Yeah, Gen X. You have, like, I hated that season. Like, I hate Gen X. Like, that season.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I went back and I watched it, and I love it. And the reason why, as a viewer, I hated it, because it was kind of boring. Like, you didn't really have, you know, like a villain like myself, someone really stirring the pot. You just had these gamers, you know, people playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm a player and I played the game, I went back and I watched it. And I've never rewatched the season ever in my life. And I went back and I rewatched that season. And that is one of my favorite seasons. And I love that season. And it's funny because I finally met Hannah. And we spoke briefly, and she was like, oh, you hated my season. I'm like, yo, listen, this is why I hated it. You know what I mean? I don't hate it. And by the way, I love Hannah. But even like when I think I spoke to like Chris and Brent and all them, and I'm like, I just didn't like the season. But as a player, like, I loved the season because they weren't game bots. There were people that went out there, played the game 100%, and they were willing to make moves, and they were willing to make moves the second they got onto the island. And in my season, it was just kind of like people just want to lay low for a bit. And for someone like me, I stick out like a sore thumb when I'm out there just playing aggressive and trying to make things happen. And not to say that people weren't making things happen, because you could make things happen behind the scenes and kind of just, you know, fall back a bit. But this season, I mean, there wasn't much strategy, so that's why he didn't really get that much strategy. They had no choice. They had no other option but to show, you know, like, character development instead of strategy, because they lacked strategy. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So that's why we got more characters, because there was only a few people playing, you know?
And it's funny, for Survivor Specialist history facts right now, we got so much crap because when Alexa, myself, and then Will, before he went out for the season, when we put together our top Survivor seasons, we did like a cumulative list, and it ended up where number one, all the points, was Millennials vs. Gen X, which we got a lot of crap for because Adam had been a fan of our podcast beforehand, and then he goes out there and he wins the game. So we were told that we were just like rooting for it because it was like an Adam win and all that. But
and it was right. Like 2 weeks after that season aired.
But it's people going out there and willing to make the moves right away, and that's the type of game you want to watch. And I think that's why I liked the beginning of the season so much, was because everybody was willing to make the moves. And I honestly thought getting rid of Patrick instead of getting rid of Lauren, that was like the first time we were like, as much as I was like bitter after that episode because of my hair color, that you're sitting there and you're watching that episode and you're like, that's a big move from Allie. That's a bigger move from Ryan. You're weakening your tribe to get rid of Patrick, who might be crazy. But I thought it was interesting. And I was like, okay, I'm more into this. And then it's followed up by the episode where you get rid of Alan and it's insane. And you're just like, okay, here we go. And then it felt like once the merge hit, it kind of just like deflated a bit, and then it picked up towards the end. It was like a I don't know, like dipped.
Because then when the merge, there was all that we kept talking about overconfidence. Like we were just saying, everyone thinks they're gonna win. Everyone thinks that everything's fine because there's 7 of us, and so it was.
But that's not like much of a strategy, or it doesn't seem like a strategy.
It was like, guys, like give us something, like do something.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out for Ben, so, you know.
Yeah, they tried. They tried.
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, people are going to, you know, after this, people will be like, oh, Joe, you're just a sore loser. That's why you hated the season. It has nothing to do with that. Like, I'm able to separate myself as much as possible and just look at things as a fan. Like, I'm not being a hater. Like, people were surprised that I voted for Ben. People were like, yo, you and Ben went at it. Like, I could separate. I'm not. I could separate it. But my thing is, coming from the last like 4 or 5 seasons to this season, it's just it's a big leap. It's definitely different. But 36 better be a great season. That's all I gotta say. Like, if I'm expecting like the theme, like from what I'm hearing, is great. 36 better be a great season. The fact that there was 3 commercials during our finale, it just better be a hell of a season. Because if it's not,
there's a lot of
like, I'm gonna be the first one. Like, my Twitter's gonna go crazy. Like, if that first episode is whack, I'm letting y'all know. Like, CBS is going to be contacting me. Like, Joe, you need to relax. Because I'm gonna be like, all that hype for what? Like, But Jeff was honest. I mean, he said that our season was it was a slow burn. Which is almost like a compliment and a smack in the face at the same time. Yeah. But I don't blame him. Like, I feel the same way. I was the player in the game, and I felt the same way. So Jeff is just an honest guy, like, and he's just being honest. But I mean, overall, I think it was a good season. But it wasn't. If you like gameplay and strategy, I don't think this is a season that.
Right.
It had a couple moments, but it wasn't like an overall theme of the season. Like, at least it had something going on, unlike Game Changers, which we sat here and talked to Trozan for 2.5 hours, and I still can't make sense of what I watched on Game Changers, and I still don't even think he can make sense of what we watched on Game Changers. So
yeah, I think Sarah's the only one that can figure that one out.
Yeah, and that's why she won, right? That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. So, Joe, you were talking about Twitter. Have you applied to get Twitter verified yet?
Nah. I go back and forth with Twitter. Like, I don't know if I'm going to disappear one day or not disappear. But what's funny? People are
Please don't.
The reason why.
No, please stay on. Please stay.
No, the reason why I'm going to stay on because, excuse me, people still get butthurt. Like, I made a tweet recently regarding, I don't even know, like, somebody named Brent, whatever. So he's part of like Rob has a podcast, which I love Rob and all. So this guy has been going crazy on like the entire season 35 for like the past 3 months or whatever it has been since September. And I make one tweet and like everyone goes crazy. Like, you've been talking cash junk about my entire season for the entire season. I make one tweet. It's not that I'm, now they're saying that that I lack confidence and I'm insecure. I make one comment, like, what I mean? People go crazy. It's like, if you're going to come after me, I think I have the right to not necessarily defend myself, but I could, comment, like Johnny Fairplay, he made a comment that every time I come up on his television, he wants to punch the TV. Well, I'm going to respond to that, right? Chaos Cast makes a comment. I'm going to respond to that. It's not like I'm initiating any of this. You know what I mean? It's not even beef because to me, I'm just laughing. I'm typing and laughing. Like, I'm not taking it serious, Just like when I'm in an island, I'm poking and poking and poking. I'm laughing. And everyone's screaming, crying, yelling. Like, I'm like, yo, relax. But, yeah, I'm definitely a troll. I'll take that. I'll take it.
Yeah, well,
I kept
on saying, like, yeah, don't leave Twitter yet. I mean, I kept on saying because towards the end, all I had left on my fantasy team was you and Ashley. That's all I had. I had nothing left, and I had to keep defending you over and over and over again. And I was like, the one thing you could say about Joe is when he was on the island, he was one way. When he got to Twitter, he's the same way. And when he was at Ponderosa, he was the same way. He was the same way the whole time.
It's been consistency.
Yeah, it's consistent. And it's funny because back at the reunion, Patrick was like, Joe, you're still stirring the pot. I was going in at the reunion, throwing little daggers here and there, To me, it's all funny games, and I think some people get it, some people don't get it. I
think a lot of people don't get it.
Especially on the island, like they didn't, in the island, they definitely didn't get it. And it was just like, Joe, I knew the comparison with Tony was going to happen just because obviously at that point I already played a few idols and and they're like, oh, Joe's just causing chaos. And, but I caused chaos with like based on truths. Like it was like, I wasn't causing chaos based on lies. Like I caused chaos, like based on like things that were told to me in truths, So even like the Ben situation, I'm surprised you guys haven't brought it up because everyone brings it up. But like that was not personal. Like someone told me, okay, I'm not gonna bring this person up. Someone specifically told me on the island that Ben swore that he was on his Marine, right? Like the fact that he was on a Marine. So I was like, oh, really? Everybody on that island talked about Ben, right? Oh, he's a Marine, he's a Marine, he's a Marine, he's serving that country. To me, in the game of Survivor, I could give two craps. I don't care who you are, what you are. Like, to me, it's a game. I don't care what you did outside of Survivor. I just don't care. So they will constantly bring it up. Like, they worshipped him like he was a god. So I'm like, all right, if this guy's going to use this whole Marine thing as a vessel to, like, propel himself into, like, the final three, then I'm going to, you know, I'm going to do something about it. So he came to me really cocky. I don't know if it was in the edit or not, but Ben was really cocky out there. So he came to me and was like, hey, buddy, are you going to play an idol tonight? And I was like, oh, you trying to come at me like this? Like, nah, bro, I'm the wrong one. You ain't going to come around here trolling me. So that's when I went in. And I'm like, all right. So I used information that someone, like, legit told me, like, this is what you've done. But then I saw his reaction. I was like, oh, crap. Maybe someone actually put a battery on my back, you know, to try to, like, you know. So I was like, all right, that's when I laid low. And I never brought it up again because I knew it was a touchy subject. But, yeah, that's kind of like that's just kind of who I am. And, you know, so Twitter is just I just love it because it's people that I've never met in my life, and they just getting butthurt off of like one tweet.
Your
like,
existence.
Yeah, it's just a tweet. It's not that. And it's funny because I do it in my personal accounts as well. And my personal accounts legit is just like my friends and my family. And to this day, I'm talking about I've had a Facebook since I've been since I was 20. So we're talking about 14 years. And I've been trolling for 14 years, and people still fall for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they still fall for it to this day. So, I mean, it's all fun and games, though.
It's all fun and games. Well, I want to ask, too, because you just said that you don't care who they are. You didn't care that Ben was a Marine. It's because it's Survivor. You have a 1 in 18 chance of winning. It shouldn't matter what your role is or anything like that. Everybody wants to say at the end, Ben couldn't defend his game and all he did was say, here, feel bad for me. How do you feel? How are you feeling about that? I just want to throw that out there. What do you think? Did Ben get extra votes because he was a Marine, or was it because of his gameplay?
So the thing with Ben is, so you have Chrissy and then you have Ryan, right? So Ryan is extremely articulate, right? I mean, this guy is. I mean, he could just go off. Chrissy, same way. Ben in that final three to me he was almost shocked that he got there. You know, he was just thinking like, yo, I should have been gone several vote outs. You know, he's just thinking about his family, his kids. So when he gave his kind of like his final speech, I mean, the edit did a good job because we really did make those facial expressions like, dude, this is like $1 million.
Seriously?
Yeah, like, there's no way. So I'm like, so that's why, you know, people are like, oh, you gave him the $1 million. I didn't give him $1 million. I didn't go out there and find 3 idols and you know what I'm saying, and stay. I didn't do that. But I wanted him to explain a little bit further. So I was like, yo, Ben, like, I know you're a fighter. Just give me a reason. So I think the way he still didn't, I mean, the edit just kind of showed the fact that he just spoke about being a Marine, this and that. He did go into his gameplay. But you got to think about the edit and the whole what they were going with. So that's what they wanted to focus on. But he did give a better speech as far as some of his moves that he made. So yeah, that once again it came down to the edit. I mean, that tribal was almost 4 hours. You know what I mean?
Oh God,
it was a 4-hour tribal. So trust me, it was a lot longer than that. So I think he did it. I mean, I don't think Ben had to really say much. I mean, his game kind of just explained itself. Like, what is there to explain? Like, if he stayed shut, he stayed shut. But I think the jury needed a little bit more, and that's I think I needed it a little bit more because it was really between him and Chrissy. You know what I mean?
And the benefit for him is he did everything at tribal, right?
Yeah, it was. The idols at tribal, but you know, Chrissy still walked in with the immunity necklace, and I think I don't know how many individual immunity challenges I went. I did like 6 of them, 5 of them, and I didn't place not even close to finishing number one. So I respect that off rips. You know what I mean? Idols, I respect, yeah, but I found a few idols. So to me, it was like, whatever. It was more about him being the underdog and still finding a way to, you know, to do something that I wasn't even able to do. You know, everyone knew he was the, you know, a threat, and they just weren't able to get him out. And the only thing that kept him around was the idol. And you still couldn't babysit him. So I think Ben just played a great game. I mean, people were just like, oh, you know, you didn't like Chrissy. And I mean, I argued more with Ben than anybody else on the island. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was nonstop. Like, they didn't show, like, the edit did not show. It was constant. We would wake up in the morning and argue. We would go to bed arguing. Like, tribals, forget about tribals. Like, tribals, it was nonstop. Like, I did not have one conversation with Ben at all because it just never went well. Like, you know, he would stay on his side of the island. I would stay on my side of the island. You know, I would talk, like, you know, I talk all the time. That's all I did out there. And he would be like, oh, I can't wait until he goes home. Like, he's so annoying. Like, it was nonstop. And he still got my vote because it wasn't personal. It was about, you know, who represented the season the best and who was the best player out there, you know.
And did Cole end up voting for him too?
So, yeah, Cole, it was a 5-2-1. So the only people that voted, so Devin voted for Ryan, Mike voted for Chrissy, and Ashley voted for Chrissy.
Which is crazy because you just said you didn't take it personally, and here's Cole, who Ben said he had like a personal vendetta against from like day one, and Cole still votes for him to win because I think that says he played the best game.
He did, and even if, you know, his social game to me was horrible because I didn't have a social game. I mean, I didn't have a personal relationship with him. But if you think about it, so I think Devin says it on his exit interview or something. He said that him and Ashley kept Ben around because, oh no, it was in Final Tribal. Yeah, Ben says, hey, I told Devin and Ashley personal things I never, you know, disclosed to anybody, right? And Devin in his exit interview said that, you know, they wanted to keep Ben around because of the relationship that they established, because of what Ben disclosed. You know what I'm trying to say? So that speaks into his social game, that he was able to kind of like, if it was his intentions or not, to kind of almost like manipulate them to kind of keep him around, knowing that he was a massive threat, you know? So there's a lot of things that he did that I don't think that Ben was able to articulate, that I kind of picked up on just within my own tribals and with information that I received back at Ponderosa, you know?
Well, like what you said about how he kind of convinced Jessica into giving that disadvantage to Devin, like that's something that you kind of picked up. And from what we saw, like that was never mentioned at Final Tribal. So those just little things that you pick up that aren't necessarily like in the social, like obvious social game category, but he still was able to get what he wanted.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think he just strung the crap out of Jessica. But, yeah, I mean, it still speaks volume that it speaks volume to me that day one at Healer Camp, we're like, we need to get rid of Ben. Ben is the biggest threat. Mike is like, I need to get rid of him. I want him out. So that happened at Healer Camp. We swap over to Yawa, and Ben is leading my Healer tribe. Like, they all respect him. Like, I get to the merge, everyone was like, Ben's a great guy. I respect him. You know, I want to work with him. He's part of our alliance. And I'm like, yo, you going to trust this dude? Like, I wouldn't trust this guy. So once again, that speaks volumes that all the healers wanted him out, and somehow, in some way, they loved him once they got to Yawa, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Joe, we're almost at 2 hours.
Oh, crap. Really?
That happens every single time. We're like, oh, we're 2 hours of yakking.
I told you I could talk. Y'all thought it was playing. Like,
2 hours.
With me, I just talk. Like, you know what I mean? That's just what I do.
We got all right. So I just want to ask you then, because you were since we're, you know, we'll let you get out of here in like a sec here, but since you were the king of Ponderosa, and we got to see you in everybody's Ponderosa video, you're pretty much like helping them out, doing that thing.
Oh yeah.
Helping Ashley find a thing.
So, yeah. What's Ashley's thing? Did we ever figure it out? But it was great to see somebody who we really thought was the villain of the season then go to Ponderosa, and you're everybody's best friend. And you're in everybody's videos and stuff.
Well, I don't know if I'm everyone's best friend.
What's up?
I don't know if I'm everyone's best friend.
I didn't see the last 3 videos yet, but
nah, everyone's cool. Like, everyone's cool. So how was it in Ponderosa?
Yeah, like what were you like? What was it like in Ponderosa? And was like, were people?
It looked fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ponderosa is a great time. Like, so if you're ever gonna lose the game of Survivor, you want to go on day 30, right? So, because you get to experience kind of everything. Well, for me, my experience was great because I didn't make it to the family visit, but my sister still came out to the family.
That was amazing.
Yeah, so I didn't expect that. That was like the first time that it was shown, at least on a Ponderosa. So day 30, I get there. So yeah, so we partied. I got to see Fiji. We did a couple excursions. I mean, life is good, you know, at Ponderosa. You get to eat whatever you want. So I was eating lobster, steak. Excuse me.
Well
yeah,
done, right?
Yeah, no, you live in life on Ponderosa. Ponderosa is great as long as you're with the right people, right?
Right. And your healers there.
Yeah, I mean, I got there and Desi was there, Cole was there, and JP. JP's just a real good, solid dude. You know what I mean? He's actually he's a huge personality. He's outgoing. He just didn't get that from the edit, obviously. But there's a lot more to the guy than the edit. But he's a really good guy. So I mean, we had a blast, and then after that, it gets a little bit tricky because more people get voted out, and then it's just tribal after tribal after tribal. So you're not really able to kind of leave Ponderosa or do anything. You're just kind of just stuck there. But you're still eating, you get massages, you know, it's a good time.
Yeah. So you had any idea that you had a family visit coming at Ponderosa? Did you have any idea?
Nah, it's funny because in my my Ponderosa video, I'm like, I'm a couple of days away from, you know, my sister you know, coming out. And I told my family, I was like, yo, if you get that phone call that, you know, I'm still in the game and you're flying out to wherever it's gonna be, I'm going to win the game. At that point, it's going to be like day 27, 30 or something. I won the game. At that point, if they crazy enough to keep me there, I'm winning. And so she got that phone call. And to her, it was a little bit more difficult because she knew how much, you know, it meant to me, you know, for me to be out there. And I just wanted to win the million. So when she sees me, I mean, I'm not really an emotional person, but, you know, she just breaks down and stuff like that. So I had no idea. Because I'm a fan, obviously, and I knew that it's never really happened. So seeing my sister was something that I needed, and hopefully it's something that sets precedent. Maybe they'll start doing it. I mean, the family member's already out there. You might as well, you know, just allow them to see them. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Yeah.
That's what happened with Jessica Lewis. She got voted out, and I think it was her husband who was going to visit, and they just flew him back home, even though she was voted out.
Yeah, that's crazy. But on the flip side, I think maybe they shouldn't because you have some people that just there to just for the extra 3 days. So they might just want to get to that point and be like, I'm done with this game, but I know I'm going to go to Ponderosa and chill with my sister. Like, I think I spent more time with my sister than Chrissy and Ashley and Ryan.
How long was she there?
So she was there for, well, then again, it's all about the edit. So I don't know. She was there for a couple hours, so maybe they were there all day. I don't know, but
that's a long time, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it wasn't like she spent the whole day or anything like that. So it was, just to see her, knowing that I wasn't supposed to see her, was enough for me. You know.
Yeah.
Just want to know.
What? Here's another. I just got another one for you. What's with the well done steaks at Outback? How many did you end up eating there? And did Ben almost kill you for that?
Did you actually eat 3?
So this is the thing. We were dying, like legit. I'm not lying. So Devin and I, like, there was once I got rid of Alan, like camp life was back to like almost how the healers had it. Like you can go about your business. Like we don't have a set schedule to pick up firewood and all that stuff. Like that's how things were like done at with Alan around. Like Alan would get firewood and he would give you this like evil eye if you weren't helping him out. So once we got rid of him, it was kind of like kumbaya. You kind of did your own thing. If you wanted to swim, you could go swim. You could just chill, do whatever you want. So Devin and I decided to like, all right, it's day, whatever day it was. Let's just cook all the rice like idiots. So we cooked like, I don't know how many cups of rice. We killed it. So we cooked all the rice and we had no food. And I think we didn't eat for like 3 days. So once we got to Outback, I mean, we were all hungry. And I think I had 2.5 steaks. My dad's a butcher, so I know about meat, but he's not a chef, so he doesn't know about cooking, I guess. But I like all my food well done. Obviously, I like my batatas well done as well. I like food well done. So I enjoyed the steaks. The steaks were good. Ben didn't kill me. Ben didn't kill me. I sat between Chrissy and Ben. That's crazy. So I sat next to him because I wanted to build relationships with them, but obviously that didn't really pan out too
well. Kind of went the opposite way.
You can't eat the well done steak in front of Ben. I feel like if you're trying to make a relationship, you know.
Yeah, it was a combination of that, and then Chrissy and I had a conversation about pizza, and she's from Jersey and I'm from Connecticut, and obviously we know about pizza. So I spoke about her reward challenge where they got pizza. And I was like, that's not even pizza. Like, that pizza's nasty. And she was like, no, it's really good pizza. And I'm like, Chrissy, stop bullshitting me because you're from Jersey, I'm from Connecticut. That was not pizza. And I think that kind of rubbed it the wrong way. And that just
the pizza looks disgusting. It always does.
It is disgusting. It's bread with spaghetti sauce and cheese.
Sounds like LA too.
That sounds depressing.
Yeah.
I don't know who that was. But all right, so then I guess Alexa, do you have any other questions for Joe? Or I know there's one big question that everybody has left, right?
we have the last question that we ask everyone every time. Would you play again?
We're gonna get a shock answer.
So I just found out with the rest of the world that I guess Jeff had to pitch it to CBS. I guess CBS wasn't a big fan of me. So I'm glad that Jeff liked me enough to get me on the first time. Will I play again? It's all about I would love to play again, but I would have to warn CBS and warn Survivor because I will be playing twice as hard as I did the first time around. Like, I went butt 20. I'm going 220 this time around. That's the only way. Like, I almost shoot myself in the foot because the last 3 days, I don't think I gave 120%. Not that I didn't give, but I felt like it was at that moment I needed to kind of like lay low because I couldn't stir the pot, because if I did stir the pot, they were really going to vote me out, you know? So that's why I kind of laid low at Tribal. I felt like it was going to be between me and Ben, like an idiot, right? So I was like, I can't screw this moment up because if I do get Ben out, I'm going to win this game. And at that point, I could stir the pot. So it still bothers me that I only gave 100% the last 3 days. So for that reason alone, I would have to double it, and I would be a madman as soon as I get. I might get voted out. I might get voted out the first day, but I'd rather get voted out knowing that I gave 100% than get voted out and like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. Like you didn't. You play this. Go out there like I played like it was my last day every day, and that's just the way I plan on.
I heard season 40's season is going to be Twitter trolls, so I think you might be the first person they call.
Oh, I'm there.
That's hilarious. Well, that's great to hear. Obviously, that was enough of a pitch for me. I'm ready to put you back on.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back, but in the meantime, please keep tweeting. Whoever told you to stop tweeting, go listen to them.
Crazy person.
Fair enough.
And get rid of the redhead flu too. I got it too. So I go to take the one picture of Patrick. I'm pretty sure he got me sick too. So.
Oh, you have it too?
I do. I actually have the flu. Yeah.
I think it was. What was the venue? I think it was that venue then.
Yeah, well,
sketchy dive bar you guys going in.
Do I want to throw the name out there and totally ruin it?
Don't do
it.
They're going to lose all their business now.
Yeah, I'm all about, listen, I'm trying to save people. Like, this ain't right. Like, this is bad. This is the first time I've had the flu. I've lived in the Northeast, born and raised, and I've never had the flu ever in my entire life.
First time in my life. I come back to New Jersey for a week and a half for Christmas, and I get the flu the first night I'm here.
No good.
No good.
I am glad I am far away from you guys.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Well, I guess that's we're probably good with that, right, Joe? You got anything else you want to like throw at us before we let you go?
Nah, man, you guys don't have another 2.5 hours, man. You guys are good.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Joe. This was awesome. This was so
fun. I appreciate for having me, man. I've been a fan of you guys for a while now, so thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate that. That's awesome. Alexa, you want to close us out?
All right, I'll close it out. So I don't even know what our next plan is. So we're going to tweet the link to this probably tomorrow so you guys can check it out again. We'll put it up on iTunes. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're going to try to have a couple more things, a couple more podcasts in the coming weeks, hopefully a couple more visitors. So stay tuned for more updates. Hope everyone in the Northeast is staying warm. Hope everyone had a great Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, and we'll see you sometime soon. Keep following us on Twitter to find out when.
Please
you so
much.
Please
keep following us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me, man.